Hi everyone, Dr. Nutt here. Today we're going to continue our conversation about personality. Personality is what makes you unique. And also, an important feature I want you to remember about personality, it is a relatively stable pattern of behavior, meaning we do not just change personalities. Commonly, our personality traits and characteristics tend to follow us. They're those relatively stable patterns of behavior that affect the way we behave, think, and feel. Okay, so personality is the consistency of who you are. Now, if you have a friend and they're like real moody and you think they change personalities all the time, they're really just probably moody. Okay, so now in your blackboard, you guys, you have looked at one of the prominent figures in personality theory, which is Sigmund Freud. Okay, you have to remember the hand and all the different theories and schools of thought and psychology. That hopefully means something to you guys that are watching. Again, we've used the hand all semester to describe the different schools of thought. And again, psychoanalytic theory. Sigmund Freud was one of the first to really write a comprehensive theory about personality. Okay, so in the video today, I don't want to talk about him. You have in your blackboard some great video clips on, again, his structures of personality: id, ego, superego, the role of consciousness, pre-consciousness, and unconsciousness. Also, those defense mechanisms, really important information for you guys, test worthy. Also, the stages of development, Freud's psychosexual stages of development. So, what I want to talk about in this video today is mainly about one of his students, which was Carl Jung. Okay, so I want you to be really familiar with some of Carl Jung's ideas. So, I'm just going to kind of skip ahead. So, don't panic, you're not missing anything. That information is already in your blackboard, but let's skip ahead and talk specifically about Carl Jung and really where he started to develop some of his own ideas. Okay. So Carl Jung, as you see here, um, is one of the neo-Freudians. He considered part of the psychoanalytic theory, the stuff in the past, right? The role of the unconscious, but not all of it. Okay, it's kind of like the fried chicken rule. You eat the meat, you throw out the bones. There's some stuff that you believe there's something to it, and again, there's some stuff you know we can't empirically test. Now, neo-Freudians also really took issue with Freud on that libido was the main driver of personality. And then also, Neo Freudians had contention with Freud because Freud believed that personality was determined by early childhood experiences. And again, the Neo Freudians had different ideas about that. So as we look a little closer to Carl Jung, okay, again, here are the points where he disagreed with Freud, that sexual instinct as the main factor. Jung did not believe that it was all formed completely by early childhood experiences. Carl Jung believed that, that middle adulthood happened to be a critical period in personality development. Some of you may have used Carl Jung's terminology when you've described yourself to a friend. Like, how many of you described yourself as an extrovert or an introvert? Well, this is Carl Jung's ideas really about how energy is directed within your personality. The extrovert tends to be energized, by social settings, and they're adaptable and they're energized by being outgoing. Whereas the introvert, they tend to focus on like inward, they're very reflective. And again, it may wear them out to be in social situations, but they're more energized in a quiet setting. Now, an important point here that I'd like you to remember is basically don't confuse introversion with antisocial behavior. I often hear students describe themselves as an antisocial. Well, I'm not sure you really want to use that term or if that's really what you mean. So take a look at the other video I posted in your Blackboard about antisocial behavior. Now, Jung identified three structures of personality. They look very similar to Sigmund Freud's. But one of the main differences, the ego looks a lot like Freud's ideas about ego, as you see right here. The personal unconscious that contains your shadow self, that looks a lot like Sigmund Freud's ideas about the id. But here's where you see a real difference right here, is this idea of the collective unconscious. Now, again, very similar to maybe the superego, but very different in Carl Jung's explanation. So, Carl Jung believed this was one of the most inaccessible layers of the unconscious, but this is what contains the universal experiences of humankind. Again, from Jung's ideas throughout evolution. Now, you may be saying, no, what in the world is that? Well, maybe this will help you explain why there's similarities among cultures in their ideas about religion or about symbolism. Well, Carl Jung would explain this because of the collective unconscious. Now, the collective unconscious gets expressed as an archetype. Okay, jot down this definition if you're taking notes, or just make a mental note somewhere because you need to know about archetypes. An archetype, by definition, is this inherited tendency to respond to universal human situations in a particular way. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, Dr. Nutt, why do you have a target dog on your PowerPoint slide? Well, let's look at a dog, okay, as an archetype. If you think about it, how do people commonly refer to a dog? Think about your family dog, okay? Dogs are known as man's best friend. Dogs are known to be very loyal, protective, provide unconditional love for you, provide comfort. The dog for target here is an archetype. Just like these little hamsters are an archetype for Kia Soul cars, okay? Because these corporations want you to respond to their products or their corporations like you would like your own family pet, or again, a pet you consider to be very cool, okay? There's lots of cute commercials using archetypes. So continue with Carl Jung. Carl Jung developed two elements of one's level of consciousness. There's the sense of ego, sense of self-consciousness, and then there is the persona. A persona is your public self. This is the self that you want to present to others, okay? But again, because Carl Jung believed that middle-aged is so important, that he believed, in order to grow and mature, you really have to drop that persona. If you think about an individual's persona, I think that's why we have so many different types of cars. what's the point of a car? It's to get you from point A to point B, right? It's transportation. But why would someone spend $60,000 on a car? Okay, you know, Jung would say, well, my philosophy is, hey, that car is not a reflection of my self worth. But there are people out there that believe the car is a reflection of their self worth. Well, Jung would say that's part of their persona, okay, or persona. Another neo-Freudian that you all could be interested in, he's only slightly noted in the personality chapter. And this is a funny cartoon that I think really introduces Alfred Adler. And Adler, again, a neo-Freudian, believed that um, a person's drive or part of their personality traits really comes from this drive to overcome inferiority acquired in childhood. And that's what motivates people to behave in a particular way or impacts their emotional reactions. And again, from Adler's perspective, most people develop this unique style of life at this early age at an early age that's used throughout their life to really kind of go after and strive for superiority. So, if you know someone, maybe you think they have an inferiority complex. Um, well, that comes from Adler's ideas about personality, that these feelings of inferiority are so strong for some people that it actually prevents them in their development or influences their development in a negative way. An example of this would be people that tend to overcompensate. You know it immediately if you're around somebody that overcompensates because basically they're trying to gain power over other people or they're trying to impress people. If something good happens to you and you're sharing it with someone, well, something better happened for them. So they're always trying to outdo you. That's because what's at their core is this inferiority. This concludes our discussion on personality.